To our main focus for today, the disturbing social media trend that has sparked outrage across the country. It's called the Imbe challenge. It's a wave of videos on TikTok, Instagram, mocking individuals with developmental disabilities, using slurs, exaggerated facial expressions, and dehumanizing language. And it's all in the name of comedy. But for many Nigerians, especially families raising children with disabilities, this isn't only offensive, it is actually and outrightly dangerous. Joining me on the program today is Mrs. Tonye Falogie-Ekeze, who is founder of Simone Zeosis Foundation, a leading advocate for inclusion and neurodiversity. She's spoken out passionately against this trend online, calling it cruel, dehumanizing, and nothing short of abuse disguised as entertainment. Mrs. Falogie-Ekeze, good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
You have, reacted to this challenge, this trend. You've called it cruel, dehumanizing. What was your initial reaction, when you saw this challenge?
Well, the odd thing is that it actually had probably been around for a good week before I even heard about it. And it was just, last week, my phone was just blowing up. And so I began to look at messages, Imbe something, but I was busy. Then I got a call from a mum who has a child with Down syndrome. And she was weeping on the call. And I obviously thought, oh, something has happened. Maybe the child is ill, is taken to hospital. No, she had seen the Imbe challenge and she was telling me about it. I'm like, what's that? She's like, go online and find out. And I looked at, it was really shocking to me what I saw. And I kind of went down this rabbit hole where you're seeing majority of young people, but there are older people doing it too, with a song and mocking people with disabilities, with intellectual disabilities as well. And then it's had an adaptation. If you don't want something to happen, you go back to Nigeria or do the Imbe challenge. And I never even knew that the word Imbe, is a shorthand for imbecile, right? And that's when it hits me that that word has become, like, in the global north, the R word is for them. This is our R word. It's so wrong. It is so absolutely wrong. And to see people, thousands of people, doing this and thinking it's okay means that they've got no process of thinking, that they actually just thought, okay, let me do this. And they don't think about the consequences of their actions. And looking at people who have millions and millions of followers and making a living from being content creators, and they think this is okay. Pele, for example, right? He has 11 million followers. Again, I'm not his age group, so I didn't even know who Pele is. But I went on because his is the one that comes up mostly, Pele and Jarvis. And I looked at the page and I went to his profile, 11 million followers. Now, with 11 million followers, you should have some responsibility on what you're creating and what you're doing. And when you veer off what is acceptable, there should be repercussions for that utter misbehavior, that utter lack of thinking, because you do influence other people, 11 million people.
That sounds like a broader issue that needs to be dealt
definitely.
with, some social issue, especially with social media. But, for the benefit of people who might not fully comprehend the gravity of this matter at hand, how exactly does it affect? What is its impact? I mean, just explain so that we can better grasp the implication of this matter.
Okay, so for example, at my foundation, we use storytelling to raise awareness and advocate, because we understand a lot of people do not really know about disabilities. They still believe the very kind of old tropes that it's because you've sinned or you've been cursed or something like that. But we don't preach that. We write stories and to educate and let people know what the lives are like and that whilst people like my daughter are different, they have every right to exist, they have every right for respect, they have every right for opportunities, they have every right for acceptance, and they have every right to be included in society. Now, if you're promoting something where it's mocking them, right? Someone with cerebral palsy, movement, because of the neurological damage that's been done, movement is unusual. It's different than most people. That doesn't make them any less. However, you mocking them and degrading them and saying to the people, oh, if you don't want to be like this, do this. What does that tell people? It tells people, these ones are less, they're not worth it. They have no value. You know, they have no rights. Why do you even bother? The only thing they're good for is making fun of. And it's really, really damaging, because when you have that kind of exposure to other people and influence on other people, it does real damage. So it counteracts all the good work that we're doing, other organizations, Lesotho is doing to include people with disabilities in everyday life. And it's hard work, but it's rewarding work. And when you see people with disabilities excel, get empowered, you know, raise their self-esteem and see their value, and the people, their carers, their parents, you know, it has that turnaround of saying, actually, my child can be something, can do something, this is worth it, let's continue. But when you see this, it's really hurtful, it's really painful, and it's kind of a slap in the face to say, wow, you know, we still have a long way to go. We still have a very long way to go.
A very long way to go. You know, you were talking about the fact that some of these content creators have millions of followers, and that's aside those who just walk by, I mean, who just scroll past to just watch those videos. So as it stands now, what must we do as a people, as a society, to drive this consciousness, and to importantly also, in the long run, get people to think before they share, before they reshare, before they post?
I think it's important to mention this didn't start today, right? We can go back to old Nollywood movies, where the person with a disability was the brunt of the joke. I think there was an actor who made a living from playing like just horribly distasteful, disabled characters. But that has reduced over time, right? Because people were not for it anymore. People just started to see, actually, no, this is wrong. We can't go on like this. So with this, it's kind of a similar thing. We need to continue to hold people accountable, to make noise about how bad it is, to say no, that mocking people with disabilities, you shouldn't do it for clicks. You shouldn't do it at all. You shouldn't be monetizing off people's pain. And so I think that young people especially, you have to look at their parents as well, because the majority of these people are young people doing it. What kind of upbringing are they having that they're saying this is okay? They're far more exposed to social media than, you know, I was. So they're growing up in this environment where you're doing everything for clicks. You're not really thinking, oh, you're just thinking, I want, oh, this, how many likes? I want how many reshares? Oh, you know, because they want to follow these influencers. And at the end of the day, they want to make money like these influencers because they're making a lot of money, and that's what it comes down to. But we have to remind young people of conscience. We have to remind young people that their imprints on the internet can come back and bite them when they want to move forward in life, because employers do look at your socials. And I, for one, if I was in an organization that was hiring people and I would look at the social media and I would see that, I would not hire that person, because that's a person that has no empathy. That's not a person that's a team player. You want team players. You want people that will bring people together, not tear others down.
All right. We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue from that point, talking about this issue and how we must really unite as a society to drive empathy and get support for people living with disabilities. Please stay with us on the program. Today on Beyond the Headlines, my guest is Mrs. Tonye Falogie Kezia, who is a mother, an advocate, and we are discussing support for persons with disabilities, especially in view of the now viral Imbe challenge, which should obviously be condemned on all fronts. This trend, you know, it went really viral on social media. Talk about TikTok, talk about Instagram. You know, I went on TikTok just before the show, and that was the second, you know, top, trend there. What do you think that social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok could do or should do to prevent content like this on their platforms?
Well, I think, first of all, I need to say that for Nigeria, this is an absolute national disgrace. The rest of the world is seeing our youth and people engage in this behavior, and they do not condone this behavior. They don't believe in this behavior. And it's reflecting terribly on us as a nation. It's an absolute national disgrace. Now, in terms of the platforms, there are rules and regulations to these platforms. So it kind of boggles my mind that nothing's been done about it yet. I think as individuals, we can call out, you know, we can raise the alarm on such posts and report the people involved in this challenge. And that's what we're encouraging everybody to do. However, what I would further encourage people to do is get in touch with actual platforms themselves. And that would include also our government getting in touch with these platforms and saying, no, we don't want to encourage this. The fact that they're allowing it and allowing it so long, I know it's because probably of monetary gain. And it's funny that when you do other things or you say other things that actually have kind of moral worth and value, those are the ones they will shut down your account for. Those are the ones that they will block. But something like this, which is really hurtful and painful to families, to those with disabilities, is just left to run because it's just making so much money. So I think as individuals, we need to tell everybody within our community, within our sphere of influences, to report it, to share the Stop the Imbe flyers online, to talk to everybody in their community, and then for our government and people who are elected officials to actually go through the process of reporting this through their avenues and say, no, this is utterly just wrong, and we do not want our nation being disgraced internationally like this.
But do you see, this movement, I mean, this trend, as it were, as an opportunity to actually turn it around in the positive? Like, is there a way you think that that can be turned around such that we are then able to send the right message and right signal in place of this?
Yes, definitely. I always think there's hope, right? I always think I'm just one of those people, make lemons out of lemonade. And there is always something positive that can come out. I think for the young people who have been involved in this, it's to have a real think about, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Why shouldn't I have done that? And do some self-reflection. And then for our elected officials, our government, is to look at the policies that are in place. Are they working? But also, I don't see why, for example, Ministry of Health, Lesotho can put together a campaign to begin to really educate the grassroots and up about what it is like for people with disabilities, why you don't mock them, why the Imbe challenge is wrong. Actually, this is how you serve community, and by holding up such vulnerable people, but people who contribute hugely to our world, to our society, to our lives. A lot of our technology we benefit from these smartphones. Why? Because all the accessible things inside that we enjoy are because they were developed for people with disabilities. So it's really, really important that everyone is educated in understanding just the value of the individual human, the vulnerable human, the different human, that we are all unique. And we should really learn to empathize. I know Nigeria can be brutal, but I don't think we are lost. I love this country. I have a lot of hope for this country. But I think, yes, structurally, there's a campaign that needs to happen. I'm just a little person, trying to do what I do. But I think that it needs to be kind of more of a higher level organized efforts that's aimed at from the grassroots, from schools upwards, right? We start with young kids in school as early as they're born, right? From our very first books. That's where we start. That's where the advocacy begins. And this should be really part of that advocacy and making people understand what the boundaries are, what is acceptable and what's not acceptable, and to really think about how would you feel if you were the person who has a disability and you're being mocked all day, every day.
Very, very important and crucial point here. You know, as an organization, we ourselves, you know, very much stand against this. We condemn it in its entirety, and we are, of course, making an appeal, just like you've advocated, that whoever has at one time or another participated in this challenge should just really have a rethink and just take that humble pie. I mean, just come up with another content condemning, criticizing that very, you know, unbecoming content, initial content that was released on this. The Imbe challenge is not something the society is proud of. It's not something you should be proud of. It's something that could later on come to haunt us all. We should be empathetic, think about the emotions, think about the life, think about the everyday life, and especially the future of our children, especially our beloved people living with disabilities. It's not their making whatsoever. And of course, also, this is a passionate appeal to platforms, big platforms, small platforms, whatever at all, to be on the lookout, be more sensitive, and pay attention to what contents thrive on these platforms. As an organization, TVC Communications supports that drive and will continue to lend our voice to condemning this Imbe challenge and drawing support for people with disabilities in Nigeria and across the world. It's been a pleasure having you here in the studio. Tonya Falogie-Ekezie, thank you for all you do. I will make regards to your family.
Thank you so much.
Well, that our show today Beyond the Headlines. We thank you for watching. We urge you also to take this conversation with you on here as we drive this needed change in our society. Watch a repeat broadcast at midnight and at 6 a.m. I am Abosadi Adeniwa Adremi. To have a very fantastic weekend.